Okay, so today I have another top 5 video for you here. And this time around we are taking a look at the all new Apple iPad Pro Mini LED. That's the large one, the 12.9 inches that I have here. We will be doing the top 5 favorite things and the top 5 least favorite things. Well, my top 5, right? Let's go ahead and jump into it. So the first one is going to be the display on this iPad Pro here. It is indeed one of the biggest upgrades made on the iPad Pro lineup this year. And what we are looking at here is a beautiful 12.9 inches display pushing a resolution of 2732 by 2048. And most importantly, it is powered by 10,000 mini LED, thus the name iPad Pro Mini LED, and it offers a 1,000,000 to 1 contrast ratio and a peak brightness of 1600 nits with HDR content. It is amazing for entertainment. You get colors that are very well pronounced. Reds and blacks are super deep and come extremely close to what would be offered on an OLED display or a Super AMOLED panel by Samsung. All right, so the next thing here, the second one, is going to be the front camera, the front-facing camera, and how it enhances the video call experience. It has that true depth camera system with ultra wide, which is a feature that makes it so that the camera can track your movements and kind of readjust and make sure that you remain within the frame during a video call session, which in turn allows you to a certain extent to be able to freely move while on a video call and still be seen by the other party. My third favorite thing on the iPad Pro Mini LED here is the addition of that Thunderbolt port. Now, in the past couple of iteration of the iPad Pro, we've seen the USB Type-C. Apple actually, started to standardize things with the previous generations, and this year they took it further by adding that Thunderbolt port to this year's model. So beyond just not having to look for the lightning cable and kind of sit through that pretty slow speed that it used to offer, you have a port here that not only seems to follow the same patterns as other Pro devices that are not just restricted to the use of proprietary ports, and not only that, again, you get the really fast transfer speed. All right, so the next one here is going to be the support for Apple's ProMotion technology. Now, when you have a tablet this large, and this is a big boy, when you have a tablet this large, one feature that truly enhances user experience is a high refresh rate. Having that smooth navigation and scrolling experiences or gaming experience is just priceless. It is a Pro tablet, and that is, of course, a Pro feature that this tablet must not be caught missing. Now, the next one here, so my next favorite thing here is going to be the M1 processor, or the M1 chipset. Now, I did put this last simply because even though it's among my top 5 favorite things on this tablet, it's also part of my top 5, well, part of one of my top 5 least favorite things about this tablet, believe it or not, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So let's get the obvious stuff about this processor out of the way, right? This is simply the most powerful chipset out there, period. Nothing comes close in terms of real or raw power. Just nothing. So it always feels good to have Apple's latest and greatest. Now that we've covered all of my favorite things about the iPad Pro Mini LED here, let's go ahead and cover some of, well, my top 5 least favorite things here, starting off with iPadOS limitations vis-a-vis the M1 chipset, as I mentioned not too long ago. For a lot of artists or people who do more entertainment stuff, editing video and all that good stuff, the raw power that is offered by this tablet will definitely be utilized. But for the majority of folks out there who actually buy this tablet, there is simply no possible way for iPadOS to take full advantage of the M1 chip and deliver that to the user. It's simply not possible, at least not with this form of iPadOS. I've always taken the example with Samsung DeX as something that Apple should consider mirroring. Something that will allow the average Pro user to take advantage of the full capability of the iPad Pro. So the iPadOS platform, although a fantastic platform, still has plenty of limitations. The next thing here is, believe it or not, the size. And I know that many of you will disagree on this point, but this is just too big. I have a hard time palming it, the way I do my other tablets, where I'm able to just whip them around or just handle them with one hand. I'm having a hard time doing that with this. Even though every now and then I'm able to hold it with one hand like I just did, it's tough. It's really hard using it with one hand. I always find myself either laying it, flat on the desk and working that way. Again, even though I'm able to stretch my fingers and palm it, it is still very uncomfortable holding it that way and work on it. So I would put it flat on the table or on the desk or lean it against something when I'm working on it. If I'm watching something on it, it will be leaning against something. For this particular tablet, if you can, just grab a Magic Keyboard if this is something that you own or something of that nature, right? That way you'll be able to whip it around without any issues. My number 3 least favorite thing here is going to be the user experience. Not because it's bad or anything, but simply because it doesn't change. And I have mentioned this in quite a few videos in the past, right? So whether you could be going from an iPod to an iPhone to an iPad or iPad Air to iPad Pro, user experience generally remains very, very consistent. I know that it's done on purpose. Apple does that on purpose just not to disrupt that continuity that the Apple ecosystem is offering. But if you are familiar with the world of Android, then you know that if you go for a very budget Android and all of a sudden you jump from that to a Pro Android tablet, you will notice a drastic difference. Again, we know that there's always obviously differences in terms of performance and specs and all that. That applies both in the Android world, and also in the Apple world. But you don't really see a tangible difference. You don't feel that tangible difference that you will be feeling going from for a budget Android tablet to a Pro Android tablet. That just doesn't seem to exist in the world of Apple. Even though it's just an impression to have, I would love to really get the feel that I'm holding something that is much more expensive than a $300 iPad, because this guy here, obviously it's $1,100, right? So you want beyond just that size that's not available on a regular iPad. You want beyond that to feel something very, very different. Anyway, the number 4 here is going to be the price. As I mentioned, this guy's going to run you $1,100 for the base model. But if you were to grab something like a MacBook Pro, which runs, I believe, $1,300, or even just a MacBook Air, it's running literally the same processor, the same chipset, right? So in terms of power, it'll pretty much be the same in terms of portability. The iPad Air is fairly portable. And again, I've said it a million times. It's just my personal opinion, but you might just be better off going for something like the MacBook Air. Plus, it does offer a ton more features not available on an iPad Pro. But that being said, we will still get those people who absolutely need the display, that mini LED display found on the iPad Pro mini LED here, which is fine, right? It's totally fine. But I just feel for the majority of people they wouldn't really mind the display on the MacBook Air. Just my take. The last one here is going to tie a little bit into what I talked about earlier with iPad OS. There just isn't a feature that offers you the ability for an aggressive multitasking experience. And it's just unfortunate, because with something this pro, you should really be able to do as many things as you can at the same time. Now, with that being said, will Apple offer something like that in the future? Something native to Apple that you can use, something like a Samsung DeX that you can use to, really go super aggressive with your multitasking? Only time will tell. Again, as you always hear people say, don't buy something based on what you are hoping in the future, would come to that device. So if you are the type who loves aggressive multitasking, always working on a bunch of stuff at the same time, then maybe you should consider something that support Samsung DeX, like a Samsung Pro tablet, right? But if you want that raw power and you are doing a lot of editing and all that good stuff, then the M1 chip would be the way to go. Again, if you want to learn a little bit more about this, make sure to watch my full reviews on both the mini LED, the 12.9 inches M1 iPad Pro here, and also the 11 inches one. But anyway, I hope this was informative, and those were, of course, my top 5 favorite and top 5 least favorite? Do you have any favorite that you like to list? Make sure to add those in the comment section. I will catch you there. Also, don't forget to like this video and share, and most importantly, make sure to subscribe. I'm gonna catch you in the comment section. Catch you in the next video, and up until that next video, stay safe out there.